Mercedes. I mean, the Mercedes is going to, perform much better, and so will, audiophile quality vinyl, and that's what we're trying to get across to people.
I hope you get the message across, because it obviously means better quality releases for me in the future as well, if the market is there to support it. Can you tell us anything about kind of what are your top-selling titles? You mentioned the Wilco 25,000, around that, which I was surprised that any vinyl title would be that high, but what else has been selling really well for you?
Well, once again, this is all, I wouldn't want to get into specifics just because I think that that's something that, the labels can divulge, because I'm not really at liberty to tell you, but I will give you our contact over at Warner. His name's Jeff Bowers, and he's in charge of all the vinyl production and marketing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He would be more than happy to talk to you about, I think he and I share the same view on, what needs to happen in the industry in order for vinyl to really, catch on and also to improve the quality of vinyl. So, I would like to just keep it to, the genres, like I said, I think rock music and, kind of more like that niche-y, just throwing out Wilco as a type of music that seems to sell well just because their fan base buys vinyl. But what I'll do is after the interview, I'll give you Jeff Bowers' contact information, and I'm sure he can talk to you about that stuff. And would love to talk to you about some of the successes that they've had.
That'd be great.
I think that they're a model that major labels are looking to kind of set up something themselves, to be as successful as Warner is being. And he'll tell you that the reason why Warner is selling the vinyl that they're selling is because it's, they're using original source tapes. They're spending a lot of time and money on recreating the packaging and putting time into the new releases with packaging and stuff. And they're spending more. They're spending, $1.50 more on some of these records because they want the pressing to sound as good as it can. So I'll definitely share with you his contact information so you guys can talk, releases and stuff like that. And I think he'll mimic a lot of the things that I'm saying as well.
Good, yeah, we'd be delighted to talk to him at some point. Another thing as well is obviously we kind of have a news feed on our site there, and most of the stuff you see coming through is things like kind of regional newspapers talking about record shops, and either record shops that are surviving despite the downturn music, or record shops that are closing because of the downturn of music. Where do you see that going? I mean, there's kind of there's big online sites, mail order sites. Is most vinyl being sold through them, or is it still going to kind of small local shops around the country?
I think I think it depends on where you live. I mean, I was actually just speaking to a buddy of mine that lives up in New York and runs a record label and is very active in the music scene. And he was just talking to there's some record shops up there that are pretty niche oriented. They sell a lot of vinyl and they're doing very well. So I think that if you're a mom and pop shop, you need to either be really big and or very specialized. And one of the huge success stories in the U.S. is Amoeba Records out in California. I mean, they're enormous, and they sell thousands of pieces of vinyl a week. So you see, last time I was in Hollywood, I'm walking around. This was back in December, January. You walk around and you see you see people, walking around with big bags of records in their hands, and they've got, this is on a Tuesday night, and they've got 20 people in line waiting to get, to check out, and they've done a good job making sure that they've got, good selection. They've got all the newest stuff. They participate in, and I'm not sure if you have this in Europe, but there's a big thing called, Record Store Week, where a lot of
off here, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the labels are they're sometimes creating or pressing things specifically for Record Store Week. Like they'll do an exclusive 7-inch that they only sell to physical record stores.
Unfortunately, most of those 7-inches didn't make it over to Europe. I think they were pretty much snapped up by the American shops and so on.
But I think that if that can be adopted worldwide and we can once again support and celebrate the independent music store, I think that's, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, the economics of it is just, it's pretty tough to do. So, we've seen, after Tower Records closed a couple years ago, some of the, the bigger, regional chain stores have also closed. And like I said, now I think that you're either going to have like a very, in the States, you either have a very niche, small, music store that will sell, let's say, indie rock and maybe some, jazz, let's say, or you have someone like Amoeba that's, on the opposite side, which is, has the footprint of a big box store, but they sell, not only all the new stuff, they have a huge selection of vinyl. They've got a bunch of, collectible vinyl that they sell, and, they are, one of the few, stores that's, buying catalog. They're buying deep catalog stuff. So, they're hitting, several different markets, and they do really well with it.
I think there's one new challenge that the independent stores are going to face, and that's, at least in the U.S., there's a chain called Best Buy, which has, tested out selling vinyl in their music department, and now they're going to roll it out to all their stores. So it's not a lot of space. They're not going to carry 1,000 titles, but they're testing it out in all their stores, and I think they'll see some success there.
Yeah, I've seen the reports of that. All right, that's a few months old now, isn't it? 3 or 4, 5 months old.
Yeah, I don't know that they've actually implemented it yet, but it's in the works.
I think that the challenge for them is that I've heard reports where you go in, like people have been going into the store and they don't know how to sell it right now because it's you can't sell it like CDs because people pick it up, and by the time you go in there and a record's been on the shelf for a couple weeks, the jacket's all dog-eared and it's beat to hell. So I think that they have to figure out a way to both display it and keep it on the shelf without ruining it. But if they if they're successful with it, I think that that might put a little bit of pressure on to some of the stores. But the initial reports, I think they said that they're only going to carry maybe 2 to 250 titles at a time. So it's probably just going to be the latest and greatest stuff. But hopefully, the good thing that comes out of that will be that it's introducing a generation of and an age group to a format that is hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah. Another thing, kind of notice the record releases as well is, as you mentioned earlier, like an awful lot of classic reissues are coming out, kind of 60s and 70s rock, and they're kind of welcome enough. But there's plenty of original titles of those kind of available in the used bins. But in the late 80s, kind of, and all through the 90s, there were a lot of records or a lot of recordings that came out in very limited vinyl releases or didn't come out at all in vinyl. It's more a question for the labels, I know, than yourselves, but I'd love to see some of that stuff coming out. And the likes of the Soft Bulletin by the Flaming Lips is just coming out in vinyl now, and that was very limited, kind of very much in demand. But there's a lot of music from that era that I'd love to see coming out in vinyl.
I think what you're seeing is you're seeing the major labels. I think they're more receptive to they see that the vinyl thing is a real deal, and I think they're becoming more and more open to the idea of licensing all of their stuff out. I think it's part of an economics thing. I think if they have a lot of titles that they're not making or they're not even trying to put into production, it's kind of free money for them. So I think what's going to drive that are labels, independent labels or reissue labels that just get around to reissuing some of that stuff. So, but I think that now labels are major labels are trying to make money wherever they can because their traditional sources are drying up. So, the good positive thing about that is that, they're able to, people are going to be able to go in and license those things. Or in the case of Warner, they have, Rhino, and Rhino is reissuing a lot of, some of, they're getting into their deeper catalog on vinyl. So, I think it's just a matter of time. But if you can sell 1,000 or 2,000 of something, I think that it's going to be reissued at some point in the next few years.
A side effect of that, of course, is all my valuable records are losing value as they get re-released.
Exactly.